is I'm supposed to review 5 books in 5 minutes. And there you have them up there. And I call this, and I'm going to get right to it, I call this miracle, From Meatification to Agroecology, the agrarian art of food regime transformation. And it starts with the ecological hoofprint, the global burden of industrial livestock, in which Tony Weis writes eloquently about the other great transformation, capitalist meatification. Over the last 50 years, the livestock revolution has quadrupled meat consumption, constructed the industrial grain oilseed livestock complex, and brought us the unquestioned productivist assumption that the world must increase production and consumption of meat by 2/3 over the next 4 decades, or else. Weis's book does the careful political economy on meatification, revealing its centrality to the corporate food regime and its inequitable and inherent biophysical contradictions. He concludes that the uneven meatification of diets is not only a reflection of global inequality, but also a major factor exacerbating it. However, as the book demonstrates, meatification is not inevitable if we move beyond actions of dietary choice to policies to deindustrialize livestock. In Peasants and the Art of Farming, a Chayanovian manifesto, with a trenchant analysis of the modern peasant labor process, Douwe van der Ploeg goes beyond the polemic that has plagued the left since the ill-fated Lenin-Chayanov debates. In the face of growing crisis of capitalist agriculture, van der Ploeg theorizes the actual existing peasant condition of smallholders in the global south and global north. These farmers aim at materializing and development of a self-controlled and self-managed resource base, and use agroecology and labor-driven intensification for the production and growth of as much value added as possible. These farming styles are both definitive of the peasantry and the conditions of its emancipation. The book is a window into the transformative potential of the world's 2.5 billion peasant farmers. Food regimes and agrarian questions. This new book by Phil McMichael provides a frame for understanding the agrarian transitions of what is hopefully late capitalism. In it, McMichael specifies relations between world ordering and agri-food trade through food regime analysis. That is, an historicized understanding of the rules and institutions structuring the production and consumption of food on a world scale. The tensions between industrial agri-food and fuel from nowhere, and place-based agroecological food from somewhere, embody the central contradiction of today's corporate food regime. The book trains agrarian questions on this regime, analyzing its integral crises, restructuring, and violent transitions. It also explores the broad-based social movements that challenge the neoliberal politics of the regime with agroecology, the right to food, and of course, food sovereignty. A movement of hope that, as McMichael persuasively argues, is civilizational. In Hungry for Change, Farmers, Food Justice, and the Agrarian Question, Haroon Akram-Lodhi, in a series of vignettes, Hungry for Change introduces us to the farmers and consumers that are both integral to and victims of today's corporate food regime. By combining moving testimonies with analyses from the US, India, Mexico, China, and Fiji, Mr. Akram-Lodhi carefully teaches us the intimate and intricate connections between money, markets, and the emergence of rural capitalism, to give us an historical and contemporary understanding of why the global food system is so destructive and inequitable. He asks, is the problem of the global food crisis that capitalism has not yet developed agriculture sufficiently? Or is the problem that capitalism has developed agriculture in a way that contributes to the global food crisis and it is necessary to put need before profit? His answer, agrarian sovereignty. And then finally, very dear to my heart, agroecological revolution, the farm-to-farmer movement of the ANAP in Cuba. And Peter Rosset is here to present this co-written book. Cuba, like no other country in the world, has shown that peasants practicing agroecology can indeed feed us sustainably and equitably. Agroecological Revolutions documents the emergence of farmer-led agroecology across the Cuban countryside in the wake of a failing green revolution, the end of Soviet subsidies, a half-century US embargo, and a relentless barrage of hurricanes. By launching the farmer-to-farmer agroecology movement, ANAP, the Cuban National Small Farmers Association, raised national productivity using integrative agroecology. Urgency, the high social wage in the countryside, and the political will of the government provided the conditions for ANAP to reach over 100,000 farming families in a third of the Cuban farms in less than a decade. The lessons in this book shine a clear light on the potential of agroecology, the primacy of peasant movements, and the steps we need to take for food sovereignty. I'd like to give each of the authors here an entire minute to say whatever you'd like about your book. Go, Peter.